Murphy's third law. It's I've cited this for years. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. For like, I don't know. I remember I learned that law existed through Interstellar. It's in the cornfield scene. Um, it's Matthew McConaughey talks to, I forget her name, but well, Murph in the movie. And I I like that quote because it gave me this reason to never try, right? And I could always kind of push everything to the side and would be like, oh, I can't try this thing because, anything that I try will go wrong. And I completely overlooked the entire, like, rest of the fact that Murphy has hundreds of other laws, right, from what I can see. The one that I just read that I really liked, that to me, has a big impact is Murphy's first law. Nothing is as easy as it looks, right? And there are a few others. If everything seems to be going well, you have obviously overlooked something. It is impossible to make anything foolproof because fools are so ingenious. Whatever you set out to do something else must be done first. I like all of these because you know, they have both a very negative and a very positive outlook on the future. You know, um, I like having this little platform for me to talk to myself and to anyone that may listen. And if you disagree with me, disagree with me. It's part of just general life. But I wanted to speak about Murphy's Law because more times than not, in my past, I would always try and find a cop out, right? I was really big on them. They had such a profound impact on me growing up that if I didn't have like a cop out, anytime I'd fail, it would have this massive impact on my mental health. It would screw me over. I'd, you know, fail at something, and it could be the most menial thing. And then I'd look at myself in the mirror and go like, oh, no surprise you failed. You're such a failure. And I'm not. And reality is now I'm in a place where, I have a nice job that I like. It doesn't pay crazy, but it's a nice job that I'm happy with and a few other things. But I still look back on the most menial things and chastise myself for failing at it. I get mad at myself. When in reality, I only failed at those things because I had made the decision to fail at them. I got mad. I made that choice in the past to fail, right? And weirdly enough, I'm at a point now where failure is, instead of a conclusion to something, it's a possibility, right? And that whole thing with Murphy's Law that I used to cite for all of these years, I mean, to the point where my friends used to roll their eyes like, of course, Remy, shut the fuck up, stop talking about Murphy's Law. And now what I realize is that third law, anything bad that can happen, anything that can go wrong will go wrong, only tells you to be prepared. It's not telling you you're gonna fucking fail if you try this. It's just telling you, hey, failure is a part of the process. It's an aspect, on the scale or the linear line of success. Goes challenge, success, challenge, failure. But one failure will not knock you all the way back to the beginning. It might skew you on a different line, but it's not going to take away all your progress. And if it does take away all your progress by some, unholy expectation, all that might really happen is you just join another line. But you can never get back to lump sum zero, right? Let's say you have a warehouse full of crypto GPUs that you're using, right, to mine crypto. Even if the warehouse burns down completely and you have no more GPUs left, you still have the crypto you mined, you still have the knowledge that you gained doing it. So ultimately, you haven't lost everything. You've lost a lot, but you never go back to complete and total zero. There's always still something you retain, right? Whether it's knowledge, experience, products, something physical, but there's always something there. You can never go back to total zero. So what I've kind of thought about moment by moment as I've progressed in my own recovery from different things, and not recovery from past mistakes, but recovery from other stuff, is that I'll never be back at zero, where when I was at the worst of the worst, I can never really get back to the worst of the worst, right? I can get close, but it's really hard to get out of rock bottom and fall back into rock bottom consciously, right? As long as you're self-aware, as long as you're aware that this decision is a bad idea, because at those times when I hit rock bottom, all those decisions that led me to rock bottom, I knew would, right? I knew were, this is an awful idea, but my idea of consequence was not cemented enough for me to really justify ignoring it or making an alternate decision, let alone a harder decision. Some of them I didn't want to make because the decision itself was uncomfortable. I had two choices. I could either make the uncomfortable decision that would have required more work, had more possibility of failure, or not, but overall was just a more stressing decision. And then I had the other decision, the more negative decision, the one that was more likely to lead to rock bottom or failure, but it was the easier one and it had more of a slimmer of positivity, whereas this one had like a big amount of positivity, right? And this one only had a glimpse of it. But this was the more comfortable option because I had more of a comforting mindset towards failure, because I had indoctrinated myself into this idea that anything I try, I'll fail at, because of Murphy's Law. But I now realize that Murphy's Law actually swings more in this direction to this decision than it does this. All that it tells you, though, is that if you pick the harder decision to go on, the harder route, the only thing that you need to really be mindful of is that there will be a failure along the way, whereas this one was just cemented in failure. But because of that, because it was cemented in failure and it was more of a guarantee of failure, as someone that was the type of person to deal very much so in ultimatums, my way or the highway, this was the more appealing option, even though it led to a more negative outcome, because it was a more confident and I knew it would go somewhere, right? Even negative, I consciously made the decision to go that way, where I actually should have more swung in this direction, because even though it wasn't as cemented in positivity or negativity, the ambiguity of it was scary to me. I wanted something that I could be confident in where it would lead me, whereas this one took me somewhere I know where it would have gone, but I had no idea where this would bring me, and so I picked the wrong decision. But thankfully, I've learned from these mistakes, and I've been blessed with the opportunity to voice these things, right? I have consciousness, I have a functioning vocal cords and internet, so I can put it somewhere. But I also look back and I remember how critical it is to always pick this option and never the one that's cemented in failure, to not pick the ultimatum, right? It's better to take a shot in the dark and maybe hit the target than to just look and go, this is difficult, impossible, some might even say. So I'll save my time and just do, nothing about it, because why try if it's not an absolute, right? Don't deal in absolutes. Deal in chances. Take the chance. Take the shot, because you never know if you'll make it or not. And if you don't, you don't. If you try, though, you just might hit it.